you know how like sometimes something happens, if they, well, I'm not doing that, I'm taking it to the mayor. Or if the mayor is married to the police chief, so they don't like it. Well, he had a sign, like standing on public property, that said F. You can, in Texas, you can open carry.
Yeah, you can't hear it. I think open carry is stupid, my personal opinion. I don't like it.
It makes it
too easy to know. And to do something. If somebody wants to test you, they know you got it. It's right there. You're showing them.
Cops go on two sides of the guy, and they ask the passenger for his ID.
Yep.
Well, if he didn't do anything wrong, you don't have to. He's a Fourth Amendment right to be secured in his papers. But then sometimes the cop gets all mad at him if he doesn't, but he doesn't have to.
No, if you're in the car, we have the right to ask anybody in the car for ID. If you're being stopped, a legal traffic stop, we can ask anybody in the car.
But they have the right to refuse, though, right? If they have
they can refuse anything, but they can go to jail for it for resisting delay and obstruct.
What's going on, guys? It's Disorderly Product News. This video today comes to us from John Eagle. Now, John is at his son's soccer game when he moses on over and starts talking to a police officer. It looks like the police officer on duty, but I'm not sure. Now, part of police officers' jobs are, at least used to be, to seek out engagements with the public, to interact with the public. But I can show you better than I can tell you. Now, going over to John Eagle's page, tell him Disorderly Product News sent you. He's been putting in the work for a couple of years now. He deserves a payoff. Beat me there. Don't meet me there. But first things first. Cue the music.
What's up, guys? I got a question I want to ask you. It's kind of weird. I've always been at work, so I never really run into any police officers. I saw a video of some dude. He was in Corrigan, Texas, and what happened was, I think the mayor's married to the police chief down there, and you know how like sometimes something happens, if they, well, I'm not doing that, I'm taking it to the mayor. Or if the mayor is married to the police chief, so they don't like it. Well, he had a sign, like standing on public property, that said F, the F word, corruption. And some dude driving by was like, didn't like it. So they called the police.
Complained on it.
Yeah, so they complained on it. But it's freedom, yeah. Yep. And they arrested him. So I was like, well, I don't know what their laws are. They totally different. Yeah, well, they arrested him for disorderly conduct. So he's suing them. Well, but I don't know why. That all depends. That could stem after they dealt with him or whatever.
Now, the case John Eagle is referring to is this one, in this video that I just put up yesterday, in which a man has a sign that says the F word. And because there's children around, is what the bald officer said, that he needed to take that sign down. He refused and ended up getting arrested. That is the situation they're talking about.
I mean, I don't know I wasn't there, and I don't know the story behind it.
Okay.
But that could come from later after dealing with somebody.
Well, but that's what I'm saying, though. So, like, I guess most officers today swear an oath to the Constitution when they get sworn in or whatever.
Oh, yep.
So,
state.
Right. So, wouldn't they, if it's constitutionally protected free speech, why would they arrest him for it if it's protected under the Constitution? They swear.
Well, they didn't arrest him for that. They arrested him for the disorderly conduct.
No, they said the words on the sign was disorderly conduct. That's what they arrested him for, because somebody was offended.
Well, their laws could be different than what ours are.
So he is right.
Really?
Laws are not the same across the board in all 50 states. You might be able to go 65 on an expressway in Arizona, but only go 55 in Idaho. But when it comes to things like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, things that are outlined in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, that's always going to be upheld. The Constitution will always supersede any law the states make. It'll supersede any law the federal government makes.
Really?
Each state can have different laws.
Oh, really? Kind of like gun laws.
Same all across the country.
Kind of like gun laws, like in Florida.
Yes, exactly.
Like you can only do it when you're coming from camp in Canton.
Yeah, every state can have their own set on different what's the word, items, I guess, or
Okay.
different things. It's not the same all across the U.S., which is, to me, is crazy. But
So, if somebody like in here had a sign, like they were all going crazy and they had an F the police sign, they were standing in public holding it, somebody called on them, would they get arrested for that, disorderly conduct, even though it's free speech
not for
protected?
that, no.
The case that is most applicable to obscenities in the United States is Miller versus California. It's a 1972 Supreme Court case. The Miller test for obscenity includes the following criteria. 1. Whether the average person applying contemporary community standards would find that work, taken as a whole, appeals to pertinent interest, whether the work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct specifically defined by applicable state law, and lastly, whether the work taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. So that's the litmus test. Those three elements, right? I think we've all watched National Geographic, and we see how other people live around the world. That is not necessarily graphic, right? So it's kind of got to fall within the spectrum of that community, that society, and be somewhat normal and have a scientific or cultural significance, if that makes sense.
Okay, but
Depends on what happens once we get out there and talk to them, try to figure out what's going on.
Okay. Well, I was just curious. I just wanted to
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to get your take
Yeah,
on it.
no, not-
Because I was
not
just curious
just on
because
that.
I mean, just like with the gun thing,
Yeah.
it's like the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed, but there's 30,000 gun laws.
Yeah.
Like you can't open carry. You can in Texas. You can open carry.
Yeah, you can't hear too.
Yeah. Well, the only thing is with the Texas, you can open carry a long gun, but you can't open carry a pistol.
Yeah.
And in Florida, you can't open carry at all,
No.
except for when you're going to and from hunting and fishing expeditions.
Right. And a lot of states, I think open carry is stupid, my personal opinion.
Why? Because
You're
everybody's
just
going to
asking for trouble.
be. Everybody's going to call on you.
No, you're just asking for trouble. You're asking for some dumbass to test you.
Yeah. Well, I've
I don't
never.
want people to know I'm carrying a gun. If something happens, I want to surprise them. And if I got to take care of something, I want to take care of something. I don't want them to see it on me. Because people are stupid. They could just, somebody could get dared. Some two drunk dudes just get dared. Hey, I bet you won't go over there and try to take that or whatever. Because they're just dumbasses.
Yeah.
So open carry contributes to that, in my opinion. And I just don't, I don't like it anyway. I never have. Even though we can do it here, I don't like it.
It makes it
Too easy to know.
Uh-huh.
And to do something. If somebody wants to test you, they know you got it. It's right there. You're showing them.
I think it'd be more for protection than anything else. Well, I guess people will call on you and stuff. But
Oh yeah, we get people calling, but I mean, once we check them, if they're good, they ain't nothing saying they can't carry. As long as you're not a felon, convicted felon, you can carry.
yeah, that's true.
Or domestic violence stuff. As long as you don't have any domestic violence charges or convictions, I should say.
Oh, okay.
Not charges, but convictions.
Yeah, true.
Then you can carry. So,
Now, do they have to still have their? And I remember that you can open carry in South Carolina now. Do you have to have like a card on you, or you can
not
just
for
do
open
it?
carry, no.
Okay, for open
No.
carry, you can just carry it around all you
Yep.
want. Now, do you have?
You still can't go into certain places.
I've never bought a gun. So, yeah, of course, obviously.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Do you have to register it, or you can just buy it and take it home with you?
No, there is no registration of guns.
Okay.
There's no database saying who's got what. The only paperwork is where you buy it from.
I got you.
They have to keep it and send it to the ATF. They keep a copy and send it to the ATF. ATF the only ones that have copies of it.
I got you.
So there's no database.
Okay.
But you don't ever want there to be a database.
Okay.
Because if you do, then somebody can get in it and know who's got guns and what they got.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not going to help anybody
Yeah.
out.
Do they do that a lot with y'all? Do you do like a lot of constitutional training? Because I feel like they do it like just because they can. I mean, they got, you know how the cops go on two sides of the guy and they ask the passenger for his ID.
Yep.
Well, if he didn't do anything wrong, you don't have to. He's a Fourth Amendment right to be secured in his papers. But then sometimes the cop gets all mad at him if he doesn't, but he doesn't have to.
No, if you're in the car, we have the right to ask anybody in the car for ID. If you're being stopped, a legal traffic stop, we can ask anybody in the car.
But they have the right to refuse, though, right? If they have
Yeah, they can refuse.
Okay, but you can, but they don't have to answer if they don't want to.
Yeah, they don't have to give us anything, but they can go to jail for it for resisting laying obstruct in North Carolina.
Really?
No, but I thought you were just
Because
joking.
once we stop that car, everybody's involved.
I mean, I know I be joking.
It's almost like going for beer. 4 people come in, one person's buying the beer, you got to ID them all,
Yes,
I think?
there you go.
Okay. That's interesting. I've never heard of that. You would think that their Fourth Amendment rights doesn't...
Don't get involved with the wrong people. I don't know what, I don't know how else to put it.
Really?
Currently, in the United States, obscenity is evaluated by federal and state courts alike using a tripartite standard established by Miller versus California. The Miller test for obscenity includes the following criteria: whether the average person applying contemporary community standards would find that the work taken as a whole appeals to prudent interest, whether the work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct specifically defined by the applicable state law, and whether the work taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value.
Even though they're the driver and they were speeding and they got in trouble, you can ID the passenger.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
But it's different everywhere else.
Yeah, now I don't know what other states do. They could be totally different. It all depends on the state. That's what's crazy. It's not the same. It's not the same through the whole United States.
Okay.
Well, in situations like this, Arizona versus Johnson, that's a Supreme Court case in which the court upheld by unanimous decision that police may conduct a pat-down search of a person in an automobile that has been lawfully stopped for a minor traffic infraction, provided the police reasonably suspect the passenger is armed and dangerous. Now, not only do they have to be armed, they have to be willing to use it against you. Armed and dangerous. And that comes from Arizona versus Johnson, that they can do a protective pat-down, a cursory search, but only if they have reason to believe, would a reasonable person with reasonable intelligence believe that this person has a weapon. You can't just do it because you want to. So, there you go, guys. Write in the comment section what you think. The sad part about all this, there are no sidewalk judges. You can beat the case, you can't beat the ride. A lot of this stuff has to be proven in court. So here we go. This is a case that's most applicable to obscenities in the United States. It's Miller versus California. Currently, obscenities is evaluated by federal and state courts, like using a tripartite standard established by Miller versus California. The Miller test for obscenities includes the following criteria: whether the average person applying contemporary community standards would find that the work taken as a whole appeals to prudent interest, whether the work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct specifically defined by the applicable state law, and whether the work taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. So basically, does it have any literary value, scientific value? Is it a famous statue? Would the people in the community view it as something that they would want in their community based on the community standards? And lastly, is it patently offensive? Is it sexual conduct specifically defined by the applicable state laws? So what this came out as, Miller owned a pornography shop, and he would mail stuff out. So people were getting this mail, and a lot of them were shocked by it. They didn't want it coming to their homes. They didn't want their kids seeing it. And that's basically the premise of the case. So go on into the comment section, guys. Tell me, who makes the laws? Who has the right to tell you where the line is, and when can you not step over it? And are there different rules for different parts of the country, let me know. My name is Disorderly Product News. Meet me in the comment section. Good night.